morning and welcome to Global Healthcast, brought to you by Global Health Press. In this podcast series, once a week, we bring to you news and views about infectious diseases, vaccines, and vaccination. I am Joe Schmitt, and with me, as always, is Dr. Melvin Sanicas. Good morning, Melvin. Good morning to Switzerland.
Good morning, Professor Schmidt. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to those who are watching or listening to us today.
The topics today: World Cancer Day. 1 in 5 will have cancer, and what can we do? Microorganisms as cause of cancer, actions to reduce your cancer risk, clinical trial to confirm efficacy of a second malaria vaccine. Vaccine hesitancy is not the norm, and we should speak about vaccine confidence. And finally, China reports woman's death from H3N2, H10N5 flu co-infection. Let's get started with infectious diseases that may cause cancer. There are 3 mechanisms how an infection can cause cancer. Number 1, an infecting microbe can directly invade human genome, change it, and all of a sudden the human cell with the changed genome gets out of control and multiplies uncontrolled, and that is what you call cancer. Number 2, if there is a chronic infection with long-term inflammation, the affected cells and their environment may change, and again, you see uncontrolled growth, or there may be from the infection changes in the nearby immune cell, which means if there are changes in a cell to change the cell into a cancer cell, it is no longer killed, it is no longer eliminated, and that is the starting point of uncontrolled growth and cancer. And finally, some microorganisms suppress the immune cell, specifically T cells. And with that, there is a lack of our ability to fight cancer on a daily basis, and all of a sudden, the cancerous cells pop up and multiply uncontrolled. And again, that is what is called cancer. And here I now have the examples. Number 1, there are many viruses known today to cause cancer. You all know the human papilloma virus that causes genital cancer, cervical carcinoma, anal carcinoma, penile carcinoma. Men and women should be vaccinated. Actually, adolescents, boys and girls should be vaccinated. The Epstein-Barr virus, you know, that causes kissing disease. And in very rare instances, it's also associated with lymphoma, and it is also associated with nasopharyngeal carcinoma, quite rare diseases with a focus in not in Central Europe or America, but for example, in Africa. Hepatitis B and hepatitis C virus are associated with liver cancer. The human immunodeficiency virus infects the human T cell, and human T cells die and are no longer able to fight cancer cells in our body. And as a result, you can see here a real list of cancers that pop up if you are infected with the immunodeficiency virus and are not treated with the highly effective multiple drug regimens that are in use today. Finally, there is this human herpes virus 8, which is also called the Kaposi sarcoma-associated herpes virus. Kaposi sarcoma is a cancer of the skin. It starts with purple lesions on your skin, and they finally may spread throughout the body. And again, this is called Kaposi sarcoma. The human T lymphotropic virus 1 also causes T cell immunosuppression, and as a result, may cause T cell leukemia. Particularly, this is an infection that is seen in southern Japan, in the Caribbean, in Central Africa, and also in South America. Finally, a very rare cancer is the Merkel cell cholioma virus, MCV, a rare kind of skin cancer. It is unknown if the simian virus 40 is causing any cancers. Now, in addition, there are bacteria as causes of cancer, like Helicobacter pylori that causes stomach cancer, or Chlamydia trachomatis that may be a cofactor to result in cervical carcinoma together with the human papillomavirus. And then we have 2 or 3 parasites that cause chronic infections. And as I said before, these chronic infections may in the end change the environment and change the inflammatory surroundings and the ability of our body to fight cancerous cells. In the end, there may be cancer of the bile ducts or bladder cancer. So this is the microbes that we know today are associated with cancer. And Melvin has the good news. The good news is there is something you can do about cancer.
Yes, so this is just a summary from the WHO and the several cancer organizations all over the world. And this is something that must be said over and over again because not everyone knows that this is actually quite helpful in reducing our risk for getting cancer. And I think for me, one of the most important things that we can really emphasize here is vaccination against hepatitis B and HPV that Professor mentioned earlier in the previous slides, that these are viruses that can cause chronic infection and can cause cancer because of chronic infection and inflammation.
Very good.
And in the next slide will actually show a similar message. And this is from the World Cancer Day, which happened on the 4th of February. And it's also important to note that cancer is the second leading cause of death worldwide. More than 1 in 5 people will be diagnosed with cancer in their lifetime. And up to 50% of cancer cases can be prevented through lifestyle changes like not smoking, being healthy, having a healthy weight, because we know that obesity is linked to several cancers like colorectal cancer. And as mentioned, vaccination against HPV and hepatitis B virus. And alcohol intake is also strongly linked with an increased risk of several cancers. So these are some of the things that we can actually control and reduce our risk of getting cancers.
I think this is great news, Melvin. And I guess this is 4 simple things you can do. And I also like what you saw on the previous slide. You can download it. We will have it in our PDFs, and you can download it after you finish listening to our presentation today. Melvin, you have another excellent piece of news, and this, I think, is really a world-changing piece that we show you today.
Yes, so we all know that one of the top 3 infectious diseases are HIV, tuberculosis, and malaria. And this is something that's been celebrated by the public health, global health community, because in this phase 3 randomized controlled trial, it confirms that this vaccine, this R21 matrix M vaccine by the University of Oxford and Novavax, it's actually 67% to 75% effective against malaria in young children in 4 countries in Africa. The study showed that the vaccine has a good safety profile, it's well tolerated, and one of the most important things about this is that it costs only $2 to $4 per dose, as per the recommendation of the WHO. So this is really good news for malaria, for countries where malaria is a big problem in sub-Saharan Africa and in Asia.
This is really excellent news, and the efficacy is much higher than that of the previous vaccine. Mm-hmm. And if I remember correctly, you told me it is a protein adjuvanted vaccine. Is that right?
Yes. So yes, so R21 is the protein and matrix M is the adjuvant. And the vaccine was developed by the University of Oxford and the vaccine maker Serum Institute of India, which is ready to roll out the first 25 million doses in the next 3 or 4 months. And up to 200 million doses are predicted to be available in the next years.
Melvin, this is a game changer in public health, in global public health. Wonderful.
Yes, that's right.
And here you have some more information on malaria.
Yeah, so this is really just showing us that malaria is a difficult disease because it's a parasite, and parasites are bigger than viruses, bigger than bacteria, and it's also quite challenging because the parasite has different stages, and different stages in the mosquito, different stages in the humans. So it's really difficult to see which ones should be targeted, right? But now that we have two vaccines, we have the RTSS, you can see here, and the R21 vaccine, which we just mentioned. Both vaccines are made up of a scaffold of a hepatitis B virus surface antigen and a malaria antigen from the Plasmodium falciparum parasite. And the two antigens differ in structure because R21, the second one, is more potent with each dose containing 5 micrograms of the antigen compared with the 25 micrograms in a single dose of the RTSS vaccine, which is the first vaccine. But both vaccines work, and it's good, and hopefully these vaccines will be available to more countries in Africa, because RTSS was initially just launched in 3 countries and R21 was launched in 4 countries in Africa. But we know that there are more countries with malaria as a big public health problem, right? So once these vaccines are rolled out in more countries, then we will hopefully see the impact.
Excellent. Thanks for presenting this very good news to us. And I'm continuing with vaccine hesitancy. And what you see here is the perception of smallpox vaccination 200 years ago, where the children, the vaccinees, are thrown into the throat of the smallpox cow, and all children die from smallpox vaccination. So vaccine hesitancy is nothing new. We have been aware of vaccine hesitancy for over 100 years. And there is now a very nice commentary in the New England Journal of Medicine this week. Vaccine hesitancy, the exception as the media norm. Now, vaccine hesitancy, as I said, is known for over 200 years, and media today suggests that parental hesitancy on childhood vaccines is commonplace. And the authors of the commentary, they challenge this, and they say, we as pediatricians and vaccine delivery researchers, we happily report most parents continue to have positive attitudes about vaccines. And they cite as an example their own daily experience in their private practices, but also research from the United States, where 88 and 93% of children have robust, or parents have robust confidence in the value of childhood vaccines, measles, mumps, rubella, and so on. And they think that there is even harm associated with believing that parental vaccine hesitancy is the norm. And I think they have a very good point there. And maybe we should stop speaking about vaccine hesitancy and should use the term vaccine confidence. There may be a lack of confidence, but that is the minority. And they have some suggestion what could be done there. The one critical point I would also highlight, vaccine hesitancy is commonplace among adults. Probably not for parents who have children that are about to be vaccinated. Vaccine uptake for influenza vaccine is miserably low. In some countries, vaccine uptake for HPV is miserably low, although it is paid for these days. So there are many examples where the term may be correct, but we should not use it for childhood vaccines and childhood vaccination. Melvin, any view on this piece? It is, again, I summarize this here from a commentary in the New England Journal of Medicine.
Well, I think I totally agree with this, but the challenge, especially nowadays, is that in the new media, right, in the social media, when you talk about something that's normal, when you talk about something that's helpful for people, something that's safe, it doesn't really get the views, doesn't get the clicks, it doesn't get the reactions. So, right, the more outrageous the news, the more shares and likes you will get. So, yeah.
Yeah. So you think vaccine hesitancy is the effect of social media's need for bad news, for the scandal, for the unexpected?
So we've had social media for over almost 20 years now, right? And it started in what, 2007, 2006, something like that. So it's
Yeah,
more, almost 20 years, I would say. And we have seen that the new generation, much younger than you, much younger than me, they are very different when they think about things, when they think about the world, because this is the world that they grew up in, right? And
yeah,
they are in this world where the currency of strength, the currency of power is really likes, shares, and views.
yeah. Very good point. Very good point. Thanks for adding this. And finally, you have another exciting or actually alarming piece of news on influenza.
Yes, so I wouldn't say this is exciting, but this is a piece about a 63-year-old woman from the Anhui province in China who died late November and was co-infected with H3N2 seasonal flu and an H10N5 flu that is genetically related to avian flu, bird flu, right? So I'm not sure if this is the first case, but this is definitely one of the first documented case of co-infection of H3N2 seasonal flu and a bird flu. So I think this highlights the fact that surveillance is really important, and it really shows us that these viruses, um, they're quite dangerous because as long as there is a reservoir, so because this virus can be in birds, in pigs, in mammals, in humans, they can just combine, co-infect a mammal, and could potentially mix their their genes, right? And
Yeah,
so we will never be able to eliminate influenza viruses in the world because they are just too good to proliferate and to just change their genetic makeup if they need to.
yeah. Actually, they are circulating in many animals, and birds is particularly one, as there are many birds out there. This is why it is dangerous. And if you're working in a chicken market and you're exposed, I guess you can get co-infections with the human strain and an avian strain. And if they reassort, you may have a dangerous virus that is, number one, able to infect humans, and on the other side, able to kill humans. So it
Mhm.
combines two bad characteristics. So I think this is really, maybe exciting is the wrong word, but this is really alarming. Alarming is a better word for
Yep.
that one. Yeah. Excellent. Thank you very much, Melvin. And that brings us to the close for today. We showed you that there is something you can do about cancer. There are microorganisms that may cause cancer, and at least for two of them, there are vaccines out there. Melvin showed you actions how reduce cancer, your individual cancer risk. We and Melvin commented on a clinical trial to confirm the efficacy of a second cheap malaria vaccine, which is 70% effective. And then we spoke about vaccine hesitancy, and maybe at least for parental thinking, for parental acceptance, we should use the term vaccine confidence, as most parents are confident to get their children vaccinated with routine childhood vaccines. And finally, we reported about a woman's death from H3N2, H10N5 influenza co-infection, a woman dying of that co-infection in China. Having said that, I wish you a happy Chinese New Year. I wish you all the best for the upcoming Year of the Dragon.
Yes. So happy New Year to those who are celebrating. We wish you success, health, and prosperity.
Bye bye, and see you again next week.
Bye. Stay safe.